All right, good morning, everyone, wherever you are on the globe. Today's discussion will be centered on the theory of learning developed by Jerome Brunner, most especially for our students that are in the universities, either postgraduate or undergraduate student. I think there is need for our teachers, most especially those in the Faculty of Education, to pay attention to this theory because it's one of the theories that has changed the modern method of teaching. This theory was developed by Jerome Brunner, an American psychologist who has changed the narrative of teaching in America. This person has contributed a lot, and I believe there is need for us teachers in the universities and colleges to pay attention to some of his method of teaching so that we can learn some of his ideas. The theory is discovery learning theory. Jerome Brunner emphasizes that learners construct their ideas based on their own knowledge, or learners are expected to construct their ideas. They are expected to construct their own knowledge actively rather than perceiving or receiving it passively, meaning they are expected to be active in teaching. Whatever you are teaching your learners, they should be active in teaching. They should be active in your teaching rather than passive in your teaching. So there is need for you to engage your learners in the course of teaching them. Let them do it by either reading or by either writing or doing it by their hands or their bodies and things like that. I think this is what the theory is talking about. Asking the learner to be engaged or engaging the learner in the course of learning, in the course of teaching, or in the course of accepting something or receiving something from you as a teacher. I think this is what the theory is all about. Brunner believes that learning is most effective when students engage in exploring things themselves and solving problems themselves rather than just allowing them to at least be following you or just listening to you. So there is need for each and every one of our teachers to understand that in the course of teaching your student, you should give them exercise, you should monitor them, they let them engage in whatever you are teaching them. Don't just allow them to be kind of passive in your class rather than they are expected to be active in your class so that they can receive the content of what you are dishing out to them on time and so. Uh, Jerome Brunner has some dimensions about this theory, and I want us to look at it this way. Number one, he talks about learning by discovery. He said students learn based when they discover facts themselves and relationship for themselves and not just memorizing it themselves. They are expected to do some certain things so that they can get to discover some certain aspect or knowledge or content that they want to learn. So students discover things themselves if you push them to do some certain things themselves. And not only this, Brunner still mentioned spiral curriculum. He said any subject can be taught at any age if it is simplified to the learner, meaning at any stage of development of the learner can learn some certain things if the teacher has simplified the curriculum for him, has simplified the content of that particular concept for him. And not only this, most especially complex concept, if the concepts are dissected, if the complex things are dissected and digested, or they are being cut in bits. So those things will help the learner to get those. The learner can assimilate those things himself, and I believe it will be very good for him to do that. And repeating those concepts that are difficult times without number helps the learner to assimilate and helps the learner to accommodate new things into his faculty. And not only this, modes of presentation. So Brunner has talked about most or mode of presentation. He said knowledge is stored and developed in three forms. So knowledge is based on three forms based on what the Brunner talks about. He said inactive, that is action-based learning, using hands-on activities. So learners are expected to use their hands, to use their bodies, to use in fact their legs and things like that to do some certain things. In the course of doing that, they perceive or they learn fast than just passively receiving teaching in the class and so. Another thing is iconic method. He said using images help learners to understand concepts very well. That is why we emphasize to our teachers, most especially those teaching in primary school, secondary schools and even in the tertiary institutions, they are expected to use images, they are expected to use diagrams, they are expected to use visual aids so that it will help the learner to know what is really the context is all about. Most especially videos projecting pictures to the learners and things like that, flashcards, and even taking the learner for excursion. Let them go there themselves to see the real picture or the real time of whatever the teacher wants to teach them also. And the last thing he says, symbolic learning method, using language, symbols, formulas, and abstract thinking. So this is part and parcel of what a teacher is expected to do. Using language is very, very important. You are expected to use language that a learner will get it within a short period of time. And not only this, you can use symbols for them to understand. This symbol is for question, and this symbol is for hashtag. This symbol is for and things like that. And not only these formulas for mathematics and physics, chemistry, and things like that. Now, abstract thinking. There is need for a teacher to at least quantitatively test his learners, most especially those that are in the higher level, to use their initiative very well in getting what is abstract or what is not really clear to them also. All right, the next thing he said, scaffolding. A teacher can use scaffolding method. Teacher should provide support and guidance at first. You can bring your learners, provide support, provide guidance for them at the initial stage, then gradually reduce help as learners become more independent. So if you introduce them to the concepts by helping them, by guiding them, just go uh, relax back and retire back to your seat and watch them doing those things. Where they have fallen, you can now correct them. You can now ask them to correct some of these things. And I believe by so doing, it will help them. And not only this, the last thing he mentioned is motivation. He said curiosity and interest drive effective learning more than external rewards. So your internal world drives you more than how your external world drives you to learn also. So there is need for us to know curiosity from the learner, interest from the learner, drive them to learn more than what they see outside or what the outside stimuli ask them to do also. So how can we get the example of these things that we have mentioned? Number one, a teacher wants to teach fraction to primary school pupils. If a teacher wants to teach fraction to primary school pupils, number one, in active stage, doing, that is asking the learners to do. The teacher gives the children an orange and asks them to cut it into two equal parts, that is half, and then into four parts. So this is learning by doing. As you are doing this, you are observing an active stage of Jerome Brunner's theory. And number two is iconic stage, by seeing. They can learn by seeing. The teacher shows pictures of a cycle divided into halves and quarters. You can show this to learners, and I believe learners may like to look at or to see what you are dishing out to them. And not only this, there is what we call a symbolic stage, that is thinking. The teacher writes on the board half and quarter and explain how these symbols represent the parts. So it's good for a teacher to do this symbolic learning, that is thinking. Let them do this thing themselves so that they can get it correct. And not only this, discovery. The children are expected to discover some certain things themselves by handling, seeing, and reasoning. They can discover the concept of fraction for themselves instead of just being told. So if you ask them, they can discover some certain things like that if you now just give them that particular moment to think on their own. Spiral curriculum. Later, as they grow, the teacher revisits fractions at a higher level, e.g., decimals, percentages, and things like that. The learners will get to understand. So, in total, what do we learn from this theory? Brunner's theory encourages active, discovery-based, and structured learning, with the teacher guiding and learners curiously at the center, getting what the teacher is teaching them. I think this is what the theory is all about. Until our next slide, I believe we are going to talk about some things that have to do with cheating. Thank you.